an interesting twist on the Veteran of the Year came out this week from Madison County. The North Alabama Veterans and Fraternal Organizations Coalition named their Veteran of the Year. And instead of naming a person, for the first time ever, they've named a group. And this is a group that I happen to think very highly of. They have named the Patriot Guard Motorcycle Riders of North Alabama as their Veteran of the Year. This is interesting because while many Patriot Guard riders are veterans, not all are. But what they do is they escort military funerals, military ceremonies. Earlier today, they escorted all the veterans being taken to the Veterans Luncheon out at Bridge Street. It's what they do, and it started out as a way to protect veterans' families from protests at military funerals. And what the Patriot Riders do is they ride their motorcycles in front of the hearse. They get to the graveside. They stand in a circle around the grave, and they hold up flags and stretch them out one to the other so the family can't see the protesters. It's a very neat thing. And I actually got the chance to ride with them not too long ago. I think I have a picture of, yes, here it is. This is one here in Huntsville not too terribly long ago. So the Patriot Guard Riders did become the Veteran of the Year, which I think is pretty neat. And we're coming up on a break. And before we get to the break, Bill and I were discussing this just before, and we're going to try this and see how this works. We decided we want to do this kind of unrehearsed. Here's what we're going to do. We're each going to thank a veteran that we know, and three each, and we're just going to do this off the cuff. This is completely unrehearsed. And the very first veteran that I want to thank is my friend Randy. Randy joined the Navy to change his life, and yet still managed to put in 4 years of service, and he doesn't like to brag about it, but I still think he's an American hero because he did his time in the Navy in the early 80s. And I really appreciate it. Thank you, Randy.
I want to thank, we'll start with a veteran passed. And sadly, it was one that I'm very sad about that I never got to meet. And that was my grandfather. My father's father, his name was Carmen Leroy Hubsher, and he was in World War II. He was in a lot of the Italian campaign. And sadly, he passed away before I was born. But at the same time, that I don't think that makes his sacrifice or his efforts to help in World War II any less. That I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know how much action he saw, but he was a part of it. And even if he was merely behind enemy lines, or rather behind the front lines, in supporting those who fought, he was still a part of that. And so many are. You know, there's a percentage that actually is on the front lines, and while they sacrifice as much, there are also many others who support them. And they all, though, have one goal in mind, and that's to help keep our freedom safe. And so, Grandpa, thank you.
I would also like to thank Nick. Nick, my children's uncle, he joined the Marines. He ended up in Iraq. He ended up in Afghanistan, and he ended up fighting pirates off the coast of Africa.
Wow.
He's young. He's going back to school. He's out of the Marines now, going back to school. He is what the Army, or the military, in this case the Marines, are supposed to be. A place for young people to get job skills and to further their life and to protect our country. And Nick, thank you very much for your service. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do personally for my family. Thank you, Nick.
Another one, sadly, is, and these are just the first three that popped into my head, is someone, again, I never actually got a chance to meet. And I wanted to thank Sterling Gill. Sterling Gill is my father-in-law, whom, sadly, I never got a chance to meet. He also passed away before I actually met my wife, before we started dating or anything. But at the same time, I continually hear stories from his kids and from his wife about how he served in World War II and was actually in D-Day. He was in that horrible and gut-wrenching battle that we've all seen and read about on the beaches of Normandy, and got through it and got home to his family, and thankfully eventually helped bring life to my partner, and they miss him terribly. But the interesting thing is, if you were ever wondering, how much you really owe to a veteran, you try to talk to someone like him who realized the sacrifice that he gave the rest of us, but he couldn't talk about it. He saw some things over there that changed him for the rest of his life, and it made him realize what he was fighting for, and I think he sunk that into every day, and it turned it into this wonderful family that he left with us. So thank you, Mr. Gill.
The last veteran I'd like to thank is my father, Ray Malone. He served 8 years as a drill instructor. He taught hundreds of soldiers who ended up in the Korean conflict. He was on the U.S. Army rifle team. He could do things with a gun that I've never seen before. He was an amazing marksman, and he learned all that, most of his marksman skills actually before he went in the Army, but the Army truly trained him how to use a gun. He was a lifelong supporter of veterans, of our military, of our Army, and I just want to say thank you, Dad, and I miss you. I lost him in 1993, but I think about him almost every day, if not every day. And thank you for your service, Dad, and I miss you.
We've been talking about a few veterans who touched our lives, and the last two that I mentioned were ones that got into the service probably because they have a sense of duty, which many of them do think is a sense of duty about something that needs to be done, and willing to lay their lives on the line and for our freedoms. But the last one, I'm actually going to make two. It's going to be a little bit lighter, but they're no less different from the service they provide, and that is my sister, Kathy Hubsher. She's in the Air Force. She is currently stationed in California, but was in the Afghanistan conflict and or the war over in Afghanistan, or maybe it was Gulf War II. She was she's in the Air Force there, and again wasn't necessarily on the front lines, but she was in one of the AWACS radar planes. And has worked there. She got into the Air Force as a method to help pay for school. And she got her degree from Notre Dame. And since then, though, has stayed in the armed services to where I think, I don't know if I'm allowed to say she's about to be promoted, so I don't think I want to say it just yet because it's unofficial. It's not necessarily made public. I could be wrong, and maybe, but she actually, I'm so very proud of her. To have stayed with it this long and to realize the job she's doing is something that's very important, and it's a constant reminder we're all very proud of her. I mean, even her nephews are excited to tell people that their aunt is in the Air Force. And the cool thing is that I just learned, and this I think I can say, is she's actually going to go over to Belgium to be a part of the NATO services over there. She's been included in that group, so she's going to be over there working with NATO now. The other one is a friend of mine that I was mentioning just a few minutes ago, the big surfer. His name's Ty Weiss. He's based in San Diego. He's in the Navy. He started at the local college back home in Florida when we graduated from high school. And soon realized that he did not consider himself really prepared for college, so he decided to join the Navy like his dad did. And he's still in the Navy. After all these years later, went and got his degree. In fact, has gone beyond. I believe he has a master's now and is continuing along training like that. I believe he is an officer now. Again, you'll have to forgive me, I don't exactly know his rank right now, but he has moved from submarines to ships. And the funny thing is, it was always a big laugh to me that he was in a submarine because the dude is 6'4". He's a big kid. And I can say kid because he's younger than me. But he is now got a lovely wife and children, one of which is my goddaughter, and he has been out there in harm's way, and he's also been over there in the Gulf. And my kudos to Ty and his family, and he's in San Diego where he gets to surf a lot more often because he started in Bremerton, Washington. And the surfing wasn't that great up there. Okay, we are way over.
Yes, but thank you to all of our veterans.
Yes.
There were 100 more I could have mentioned, and I don't mean to slight anyone by not mentioning them. Those are 3 that were very close to me and 4 that were very close to you. So you're watching The Water Cooler, and we'll be right back with more on our Veterans Day special right after this.